Okay, the title of the story is King Thrusbeard. A long time ago in Germany, there was a king, and this king had a daughter. This daughter was a very beautiful daughter, and she was beyond, her beauty was beyond measure. Beyond measure means it's very, very beautiful. She was very beautiful. You couldn't compare her to anybody. She was a beauty beyond measure. Anyway, she was very beautiful, and because she was a princess, she was a very rich woman, but she was a very proud woman, and she always made fun of everybody. She always was very unkind to people. But she was getting older, and the father was very worried about her daughter, and so he wanted to find a husband for his daughter. And so one day he had a very big party, and he invited all sorts of people, all kinds of people to this party. Kings came, and the princes came, and dukes came, earls came, barons came, and noblemen came, and they were all put in different rows. And the first row was the king, the second row was the princess, and the third one was the duke and the earl and the baron, and the last row was the nobleman. And so the king introduced his daughter to these young men, and the princess came and said hello to these people, and they all said, "Nice to meet you." But then every time when she was introduced to the young man, she made fun of these people. One time, the first man was a king from another country, and she said, "Oh, you are very fat. You look like a bathtub. You look like a tub." And the man was very hurt, and oh no, he didn't like to hear it. The second man was a very tall man, and then she said, "You are too tall." She said, "Too tall, and you look like a sick person." And then, "You are so tall, you're so thin, and you look like a sick person." And then the second man was not very happy to hear it. The third man, he was a very short man, and then she said, "You are too short to come and say that you love me. You're too short, you're not good enough for me." And then the third man was very, very unhappy too. And then one after the other, the young men were introduced to the princess, but the princess made fun of these people, and everybody was very unhappy. The last man was a king from another country, and he was very tall, he was strong, he was good looking, and he was a very rich young king. But this king had a little strange looking chin, and so she made fun of his chin. This part is a chin of, this cheeks and chin. She said, "Your chin looks like thrush's chin, thrush's beak." Thrush is a bird, but it's a name of a bird. She said, "Your chin looks like thrush's beak." Beak is the mouth part of the bird. And so she said, your chin looks like a thrush's beak. And the man was very surprised to hear it, because nobody had said things like that to him. But because she said that, and she laughed about it, and so everybody began to call him Thrush's beak. They began to call him King Thrusbeard from then on. But anyway, that day, this King Thrusbeard said good night, and these people left. Now, after the party, the king was not happy with the princess. He said, "These kings from other countries, and princes and dukes and earls and barons and noblemen, they were my friends. But you, my daughter, made fun of my friends, and they felt very bad. You were very unkind to these people, and I'm not very happy with you." But the princess was a very proud woman. She didn't care. But the father was really angry, so he said, "Next time I see a beggar," beggar is a person who is very poor and who goes around to beg for food. He said, "Next time I see a beggar, you will marry a beggar. You will not marry a king anymore. You will marry a beggar." He said, "I swear to people," he said. And so and lots of people are listening, and he said, everybody listen, he said, I am going to have my daughter marry a beggar from now, beggar, next time I see a beggar, he said. The princess didn't believe it. But a few days later, there was a knock on the door, castle door, and the king went outside, and there was a beggar outside standing. And he was a singer, ballad singer. Ballad means popular music singer, but he was a beggar. He said, I would like to come in and sing a song so that you can give me some money, the beggar said. And so the king said, oh, very good opportunity, good chance. He said, come in, come in. And so the beggar came in, and this beggar sang some music, some songs. And then after that, the beggar said, well, now that I sang some music, sang some songs for you, I would like to get some reward for my music. And he said, give me some money. And then the king said, you sang very well. I was very happy with your music. You pleased me so much that I will not give you money, but I will give you my daughter, he said to the beggar. The beggar was surprised, and he said, what? You are giving me your daughter, the princess? And he said, yes. I swore to people a few days ago that next time I see a beggar, I said to them that I will give my daughter to the beggar, and you are the beggar who are going to get my daughter. The daughter, the princess, was surprised. Not only she was surprised, she was horrified. She was horrified. She said, no, I don't want to marry a beggar. But the father said, nope, I made the promise, I swore to God, my words must be kept. I have to keep my promise, and therefore you must marry this beggar. Well, there was no way she can get out of this situation. There was no remedy. Remedy means no other solution. She had no other way to get out of this solution. Quickly, a priest was called in, and the priest came in, and then priest said, you and I are married. And so there was a wedding, and the priest married these people. And then the king said, you are not a princess anymore, you are a beggar's wife, therefore you cannot live in my castle. Out, he said, go out, off with your husband. And he said, now that you are not a princess, you are a beggar's wife, I'm not going to give you any horses, or you cannot have a car, you just go out on foot, you have to walk out. So the princess and the beggar walked out of the castle. She was very, very sorry that she was a proud woman. She thought, wow, what a mistake did I make. But it was too late. She was married to a beggar. And now she was walking and walking and walking. And now she came to a beautiful forest. There were many, many beautiful trees and flowers and strawberries, and the birds were singing. And she said, wow, this is a beautiful forest. I wonder who owns this forest. I wonder to whom this forest belonged. And then the beggar man said, oh, this forest belongs to King Thrusbeard. If you had married him, this forest would have been yours. This could have been yours. This is his, and therefore if you were his wife, you could have had this forest. And then the girl said, oh, I was a stupid girl. Why was I so proud? Why did I make fun of all these people? Shucks, she said. But she couldn't do anything. She just was walking with the beggar man. And then she came to a beautiful meadow, a grass meadow, and there were horses and cows and beautiful flowers, and there was a nice day. And she said, wow, this is a beautiful meadow. I wonder who owns this meadow. And then the beggar man said, oh, this meadow belongs to King Thrusbeard that you made fun of. You said his chin was not round and he had a very strange chin. You made fun of him. She said, oh, I made a mistake. I wish I had been a bit better girl, she said. I would have gladly married King Thrusbeard. I liked him, she said. And then the beggar man says, well, but you didn't. You married me. And so they were walking again, and they came to a beautiful town, big buildings, beautiful shops, and she said, wow, this is a beautiful town. I wonder whose town this is. I wonder to whom this town belongs. And then the beggar man said, oh, this town belongs to King Thrusbeard. And then she said, oh, I wish I was married to King Thrusbeard. And then the beggar man said, well, that's not very nice of you. You're married to me. Am I not good enough for you? I am your husband, and I'm not happy to hear that you wish that you were married to King Thrusbeard. That does not please me. That does not make me happy. I don't like that. And so they just walked together, and they came to a very, very small old house. When she came to a small old house, she said, wow, what a small little dirty house. And then the beggar man said, this is the house that you and I are going to live together. This is our house. And she said, where are the servants? And then he said, we don't have any servants. So she opened the door, and she had to stoop, because the door was so small, she had to stoop and went into the house. And when she went in the house, the beggar man said, wife, I am hungry. Go make something to eat. But the princess didn't know how to make a fire. She didn't know how to cook. And so she said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to cook. And then the beggar man said, gee, I will show you how to cook. And so he made some food, and they ate together, and they went to bed. The next day, early in the morning, the beggar man woke her up and he said, wake up, clean the house. And she began to clean the house. But she didn't know how to clean the house, so that the beggar man had to show him how to clean the house. And so for a few days, the princess and the beggar man lived like this. Not so good, not so bad, but they lived like this in this small house. After a few days, the beggar man said, well, I have no more money. You must go and make some baskets so that you can go to the market and sell the baskets. He said, I'll go and cut some twigs, and so you can just put the twigs together and make some baskets. So he went outside to the forest, and he cut some twigs, and he brought some twigs home, and he said, make some baskets. But she said, I don't know how to make baskets. So he showed him he showed her how to do it, but then the twigs touched the princess's soft hand, and the soft hands became wounded. There were some cuts, and the blood flowed, and she said, I don't want to do this. He said, all right, you can't make baskets, and then maybe you can spin some thread. So the beggar man brought some spinning wheel, and he said, spin some thread. But she didn't know how to spin thread, and the harsh thread touched his soft fingers, and now again the blood flowed from her soft fingers. And then the beggar man was angry. He said, when I made the bargain, when your father gave you to me, I made a bad bargain. I made a bad trading. I wish I could have had some money instead of you. And he said, what I can do is maybe I can go and ask your father so that you can work as a kitchen maid in the kitchen. And so from the next day, the princess went to the father's kitchen, the castle kitchen, and she began to work as a kitchen maid in the kitchen. The cook in the kitchen was a very mean man, and so he said, do this, do that, clean this, wash this. But the princess had to go this way and wash the dishes. She had to go that way and clean the wall floor. She had to go do this and cook potatoes, and she had to work all day long. And then at the end of the day, she had to pick some food, leftover food from the kitchen, so that she could take this food home to her husband so that they can eat food at home. A few days she went to the kitchen and worked for a few days, and one night after all the work was done, she picked some food, fragments of food, little pieces of food, leftover food, and she had two pots, one pot in her one pocket, the other pot in her one pocket, and she had she had some food in one pot. Pot is like a container for herself, and another pot for her husband. And she had 2 pockets, and so she had this one pot in her pocket, the other pot in the other pocket. And she was going to go home, but she heard some music going upstairs, and so she wanted to know what was going on up there. So she went up. She went up the stairs, and she opened the door, and she looked. She saw a beautiful party was going on. Many, many young men and young women in a beautiful dress was dancing, and there was beautiful music going on. And she was looking, and she thought, oh, I was so stupid. If I was not so proud, if I was not so mean, if I did not look down on people, I could have been dancing there. I could have been married to one of those kings. And she was very sorry. And then suddenly somebody grabbed her hand and pulled her, and he said, let's dance. And she looked, and she was surprised because it was King Thrusbeard, the guy with the strange chin. And she was very surprised, and she said, no, no, she refused. And then he said, come on, let's dance. He pulled her. And then all of a sudden, when he pulled her, the 2 pots that she had in her pockets fell out and broke, and it made a big noise. And the food in the pots came out, and it was the food, the fragments of food were scattered on the ground. There was some chicken, there was some meat, there was some potato salad, and so the food began to smell from the floor, and all the kings and queens and the princes and the people, the guests, looked, and they saw the princess, and they laughed. Ha, ha, ha. Now she is a kitchen maid, and everybody laughed. The princess was so ashamed, and she didn't know what to do. But then the King Thrusbeard again grabbed her hand, and come on, he said, let's dance. And she said, no, no, no. And then King Thrusbeard said, hey, look at me. So she looked at King Thrusbeard, and then he said, the beggar man and me are the same. I disguised myself. I disguised myself means I changed my clothes, I put my dirty face, and I became the beggarman so that I could teach you a lesson. You were a very proud woman, you were a very bad girl, but now you learned to be humble. Humble means not proud. And so you have learned a lesson already, so it's all right. Now let's get married, he said. And she said, oh, no, no, she said, I did wrong to you. I do wrong means I did a wrong thing to you. I laughed at you, and I was a bad girl. And she said, I cannot marry you. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough for you. But then King Thrusbeard said, no, I love you. That's why I disguised myself to become a beggar so that I could teach you a lesson. And so the king came, her father came, and he said, I forgive you. And everybody came and applauded. And so the beautiful wedding was prepared. A maid came and put a beautiful white gown, wedding dress on the princess. And the princess and King Thrusbeard was married in a beautiful wedding. And they lived happily ever after for a long, long time. The end.